Max was a friendly and curious dog with shaggy fur and big brown eyes. He didn't have a home to call his own, but he dreamed of finding his original home where he belonged. Max decided it was time to begin his adventure. With a wag of his tail and a bark of excitement, he set out into the unknown streets. As he trotted along, he sniffed the air, hoping to catch a familiar scent that would lead him home. As he wandered, Max encountered other stray dogs and cats. Some were friendly and greeted him with wagging tails and purrs, while others were wary and kept their distance. Max didn't mind. He was determined to continue his search. Along the way, Max met a wise old dog named Toby. Toby had been a stray for many years and knew the city like the back of his paw. When Max told Toby about his quest to find his original home, Toby offered to help. "To find your home, you must first follow your heart," Toby said in a gruff yet kind voice. "But remember, the journey may be long and full of challenges." Max nodded, grateful for Toby's guidance. Together they travelled through alleys and parks, sniffing for any clues that might lead them closer to Max's home. As the sun began to set, Max and Toby stumbled upon a group of stray cats. At first, Max was unsure if they would be friendly, but to his surprise, they welcomed him with open arms. "We may be cats, but we know a thing or two about finding our way around," one of the cats said, with a mischievous gleam in her eyes. With the help of Toby and the stray cats, Max felt hopeful that he would soon find his way home. Little did he know, the adventure was just beginning. And so, with newfound friends by his side, Max continued his journey into the unknown, determined to uncover the secrets of his past and find the place where he truly belonged. As Max and his newfound companions journeyed through the city streets, they encountered all sorts of obstacles and adventures. From dodging speeding bicycles to sneaking past grumpy store owners, each day brought a new challenge. But through it all, Max remained determined to find his original home. He knew that with Toby's wisdom and the help of his feline friends, he was closer than ever to unraveling the mystery of his past. One day, as they ventured into a bustling market square, Max caught a faint whiff of something familiar. It was the scent of his original home, the one he had been searching for all this time. With excitement bubbling in his heart, Max followed the scent, his tail wagging furiously behind him. The scent led them to a quiet neighborhood on the edge of the city, where rows of houses stood like sentinels guarding their secrets. Max's heart raced as he approached one particular house, a small cottage with a red door and a cozy porch. "This is it," Max whispered, his voice barely audible above the hum of the city. "This is where I belong." But as Max stepped closer to the house, he heard a familiar voice calling his name. It was Mrs. Jenkins, the kind old lady who lived next door to Max's original home. "Max, is that you?" she exclaimed, her eyes widening in surprise. Max's heart leaped with joy as he recognized Mrs. Jenkins's sweet voice. He bounded up to her, his tail wagging so hard it felt like it might fall off. "Yes, it's me!" Max barked happily. "I'm home!" Mrs. Jenkins smiled through tear-filled eyes as she knelt down to hug Max tightly. "Oh, Max, we've missed you so much," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "We've been searching for you everywhere." Max's tail wagged even faster as he looked up at Mrs. Jenkins with gratitude. He knew that he had finally found his way back to the place where he belonged, surrounded by love and warmth. As Max settled back into his old home, he couldn't help but feel grateful for the journey that had led him here. From the busy city streets to the quiet neighborhood where he had started his adventure, every step had brought him closer to his true home. And as he curled up on his favorite spot on the porch, surrounded by his family and friends, Max knew that he would never forget the incredible journey that had brought him back to where he belonged. As days turned into weeks, Max relished in the comfort and familiarity of his old home. He spent his days lounging in the sun-drenched backyard, chasing squirrels and playing with his favorite squeaky toy. But amidst the joy of his reunion, Max couldn't shake the memories of his journey. One evening, as he sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Max found himself lost in thought. He thought about Toby and the stray cats who had helped him along the way, and he couldn't help but wonder where they were now. "Hey, Max, what's on your mind?" Mrs. Jenkins's gentle voice broke through Max's reverie, and he turned to see her smiling kindly at him. "I was just thinking about my friends from my journey," Max replied, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "I miss them, even though I'm happy to be home." Mrs. Jenkins nodded understandingly, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "It's natural to miss the friends you've made along the way," she said, "but remember, they'll always hold a special place in your heart, no matter where life takes you." Max sighed, feeling a mixture of gratitude and longing. He knew that he would always cherish the memories of his journey, but he couldn't help but wonder if his friends were thinking of him too. Just then, a familiar bark echoed through the neighborhood, and Max's ears perked up with excitement. Could it be? Bounding off the porch, Max followed the sound of the bark until he found himself face to face with an old friend. It was Toby, his wise companion from his journey. "Toby!" Max barked joyfully, his tail wagging furiously. "I can't believe it's you!" Toby grinned, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Well, well, well, look who's all grown up," he teased, giving Max a playful nudge. "I see you've found your way back home." Max nodded eagerly, his heart swelling with happiness. "Yes, thanks to you and the other cats, I finally made it back," he said gratefully. "But what about you? Where have you been all this time?" Toby's expression grew somber as he glanced away, his tail drooping slightly. "Oh, just roaming the streets, doing what strays do best," he replied nonchalantly. "But enough about me. I'm just glad to see you safe and sound." Max smiled, sensing that there was more to Toby's story than he was letting on. But for now, he was content to bask in the joy of their reunion, grateful for the friendship that had brought them together. As Max and Toby caught up on old times, sharing tales of their adventures and escapades, Max couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over him. He knew that no matter where life took him, he would always carry the memories of his journey and the friends who had helped him along the way. As time went by, Max's life settled into a comfortable rhythm. He spent his days exploring the neighborhood, playing in the backyard, and snuggling up with Mrs. Jenkins on the porch. But amidst the familiar routines, Max couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something missing. One day, as he wandered through the park, Max stumbled upon a group of stray dogs and cats. They looked tired and hungry, their fur matted and their eyes filled with longing. Max's heart went out to them, remembering his own days as a stray. Without hesitation, Max approached the group, his tail wagging with determination. "Hey guys, what's going on?" he barked cheerfully, hoping to lift their spirits. The strays looked up in surprise, their eyes widening with curiosity. "Who are you?" one of the cats asked, her voice tinged with suspicion. "I'm Max," he replied with a friendly smile. "I used to be a stray like you, but I found my way back home, and now I want to help you find yours." The strays exchanged hesitant glances, unsure whether to trust this new stranger. But as they looked into Max's kind eyes and listened to his reassuring words, they began to feel a glimmer of hope. "Okay, Max, we'll follow you," one of the dogs said, his voice trembling with uncertainty. "But how do we know we can trust you?" Max nodded understandingly, his heart swelling with determination. "You'll just have to trust me," he said firmly. I promise I'll do everything I can to help you find a home where you belong." And so, with Max leading the way, the group of strays set out on a new adventure. They traveled through the city streets, facing challenges and obstacles at every turn, but they refused to give up hope. As they journeyed together, Max realized that his true calling was not just to find his own home, but to help others find theirs as well. And with each step they took, he knew that they were one step closer to finding the place where they truly belonged.